Bad Batch,
Yes.
the
We got
Harbinger.
we got Ventress.
We did. I mean, when we saw the title, The Harbinger, as well as what we got at the end of last week,
Yeah.
I feel like anyone who pays attention knew what we were probably getting this week.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone knew from the trailer that she was coming, so it was kind of like all things pointed to it being this episode. I didn't quite expect it to happen on the island. I don't know where I
guess it
thought it
does
would
make
happen, but
sense. And it probably explains how the island ends up going to shit.
well, yeah, this is the thing. This episode has once again instilled my fear in this island surviving. I'd kind of got to a point you were like, oh well, you'd said, well, if no one knows about it, that's why we never heard about it again. It kind of just went under the radar. Now I'm worried that Ventress found it really easily and was able to track them and even told them, you're not that safe here.
Yeah, it's prime foreshadowing, isn't it?
Yeah, I really don't think that island's going to survive,
I
unfortunately.
don't have a great feeling about it, no.
Whether the people on it evacuate some of them,
yeah.
but I don't think it's going to be good for the island, unfortunately. But I enjoyed getting Ventress back. It was nice having her again, getting to see her more of a mid-ground sort of Force user, which we're getting a few of these now, and
it makes a lot of sense for this era, though, doesn't it? The Jedi Order doesn't exist.
Yep.
And I mean, I guess the whole concept of the Jedi Order was Jedis had to accept things they didn't like. Whereas any Jedi that survived Order 66, probably didn't follow the rules of the Jedi Order to the letter anyway, because they probably would have died for that, like because of that. And then the Jedi that remained already probably more aligned to not following the rules. And then they don't even have anyone to moan at them for not following the rules, so they kind of do whatever they need to do. And then on the flip side, any Dark Force users that were about, they always just did whatever the fuck they want. They're just now being a bit more secretive about it.
Yeah, it's like we obviously the end towards like Order 66 was obviously the final moments, I guess you could say, of the High Republic era. And it's like those final few years through the Clone Wars, all the new Jedi like Ahsoka and Ventress, we saw in the Ahsoka series, all she ever knew was to be a soldier. She wasn't actually trained as a Jedi. She was just a soldier.
Yeah.
And it's like, that skews the perspective of the rules of the Jedi anyway.
Yeah,
and it's like,
during wartime, it's completely different.
Like you say, there's no Jedi left now to kind of lead the way. We have the Sith rule of two kind of dark sides taken over and shaking things up. These remaining Jedi that were born in a time of war, obviously going to lie in the middle. They have their point of view on the world. They don't believe in this idealistic like life that the Jedi once had. So it's fun to see, and more yellow sabers.
Yeah.
I think it was last week or the week before, maybe it was last week. You were like, "Does this mean Omega's going to have the Force?" I don't think this episode didn't really answer that question fully.
So I think this is just my opinion. It's always kind of been rumored that like while Han couldn't interact with the Force, he was a bit Force sensitive, and it's like kind of this understood because midichlorians exist in everyone. Like really good pilots are probably above a normal midichlorian level, but not Force user midichlorian level.
Yeah,
and that's why they're such good pilots.
Yep.
I won't be surprised if it's something like that. Like she's a bit more connected. She's a bit higher than her midichlorians would be expected to be. So that's why she's a bit more in tune with animals and just the world and stuff. But it's not so high that she can do anything.
Yeah, I think the vibe I got from the way like that final moment with Ventress and Hunter and that, and they were like, you weren't telling the truth. I think she definitely has a higher M count than normal. And like you say, we know now, like the way it's portrayed now is that everyone has a midichlorians and M count or whatever, just various degrees.
Yeah.
And Jedi just come from those children that have high levels and then are trained on how to use it. Maybe Omega could have unlocked something if she'd been trained from the get-go, but I find that highly unlikely. I'm similar boat as you of like, I think I still stand with the idea that they obviously were messing around with what if we mix some Jedi DNA
Them
into.
Kaminoans are up to no good.
Yeah, they were obviously mixing something, whether it was early stages of them trying to see if
I'm
they could
telling
make
you,
just generate force sensitive clones.
they got something from Obi-Wan Kenobi. She is
Was it
Django and
Qui-Gon?
Obi-Wan's love child. Imagine.
But
Imagine.
there's definitely something there where they've obviously done that, and I think what it actually is her M count is slightly higher, that it sort of survives the cloning process
Yeah.
and kind of is that like a stronger level that'll act as a good base for trying to clone a Jedi. But
Well,
she's
here's the thing.
alone not good enough.
In reality, all of the clones should have the same MIDI count as Jango Fett.
Yes.
So if hers is elevated even slightly, that means that whatever's different about her cloning process allows them to elevate M count and maintain M count in that subject, which is exactly what they want so that Palpatine can be as powerful as possible in his new bodies. So it doesn't need to be, oh, she can wield the force levels of high. It just needs to have enough DNA in there for them to reverse engineer how to make a clone body that can maintain an M count.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of what Ventress maybe realized, that like there's clearly some need that the Empire has for them. But she obviously warned them that like don't fuck with the Empire because she knows firsthand
Yeah.
what the fuck's going on. I enjoyed her little line of like, I've got many lives left, because obviously she went and got like witch magic.
Yeah.
So we know that she's a bit sus in that sense. But yeah, I thought it was a good episode. Better than last week's. Gave us a few more answers. And
I would say last week definitely still is a filler because it didn't need to be as much off the beaten path.
yeah,
But it's not as bad of a filler. It feels more like a setup episode than a filler now, but they definitely could have condensed it down and made it work a little better.
Yeah, they could have done. I think it's hard to know what comes next. We know they're obviously building up to like finding this lab, and obviously something's going to go down. I wouldn't be surprised if next week the island gets found. Or
with the foreshadowing at the beginning of this episode, it would make sense.
It's almost like they've had a bit of a good go for a little bit now. Things haven't gone too wrong because like they got Omega back. They escaped Wolf and that pursuit there. It's kind of time for them to take a loss. So it wouldn't surprise me if we lose something goes down with the island next week, and
for sure
they're forced to kind of go find Rex or something.
Do you know what my problem is?
Go on.
Story wise, if you want to kill someone off for an emotional hit, but not affect the story, who's the easiest person to kill off right now? Vrathra.
Oh. No, do you know who was easier? The dog. Everyone's become very attached to Batcher. I think we'd all be very sad.
Yeah, it'd be Batcher or Rex that's in the most. Not Rex. Wrecker that's in the most danger. Because they're just there. They're not adding to the overarching story at the minute. I don't mean that as a criticism. Not everyone can add.
I know what you mean.
to the story. They're in the most danger, and coming up to a double bill episode when we still know we've got 5 episodes after that, that puts them in a lot of danger.
I think, I don't know, or there's some pirate lady, because she's kind of friend of the thing, linked with the island. Potentially something there.
I've got a feeling we're going to have some gut punches over the next few episodes for sure.
I also think so. But I'm looking forward very much to where this is going.
Yes. As much as I love this filling in of time, it's nice that it feels like it's coming to an end and we're going to enter a new era of Star Wars lore soon. I think with like the maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years we have left of this kind of post episode 6 and pre episode 4 period of time, I feel like once that's all over in the next 3 years, I feel like I'm going to be ready to leave behind this era of Star Wars and go somewhere new. And I feel like the Acolyte's going to give a lot of people that taste, so that a lot of other people are ready to step away from this era at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's all like we know, and we've talked about it many times. Like this is all Dave fixing the sequels and the whole Palpatine thing. That's all these filler things have been, really, the underlying story. So it's kind of, it's been threaded there for a while now. Like I say, it's nice that it's kind of coming to an end. We know we've got the Mandalorian and Ahsoka and like the Mandalorian film. Like that stuff's all going to happen to wrap up that half of it. The only kind of gap that I maybe would still be interested in seeing, that I've said before, is like seeing how Rex ends up where we know how he ends up kind of just surviving and getting onto that planet. And then that little gap there's obviously something goes down between this and Rebels. And we know after Rebels, then he kind of just becomes part of the resistance and the whatnot. That's probably the only little gap.
I expect we'll get a kind of idea of that by the end of this.
Yeah.
Also,
I think it will like set it up so they don't necessarily have to fill it out,
but it makes me terrified for Echo. Bearing in mind we know how close the Echo's working with Rex at the minute, and we've seen Wolf this season as well. Why does Echo all of a sudden stop hanging out with him? Or does Rex, who's really dedicated to helping all the clones, lose Echo, who's been his right-hand man this entire time, and that's why he goes and lives on a backwater planet?
I think, I honestly, I think it gets to a point where I don't think anything bad happens at the end of this little arc. I think Rex will go through some time of trying to save more clones, but slowly just keeps losing them to the point where it's just him, Wolf, and what's going on in my head now? The third one.
Frigga.
Oh no. Gregor. I think it'll get to the point where it's just like the three of them. They're like, "There's no more clones to save. We've lost too many brothers. Like, let's just go.
Let's just stop fighting.
We've fought our fight. We've done. It's someone else's fight now."
For sure.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to next week anyway.